Get set, podcast listener, and be ready to win with your mentor, motivator, and marketer, Cam Roberts. Grow your business and achieve your goals quickly with the latest tips, tools, and tactics on business, success, and marketing. Subscribe now and download your free resources at camroberts.com.au.
Hey, Cam Roberts here. Thank you for joining the podcast or the YouTube channel. Wherever you're watching this, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, of course. I'm Cam Roberts, fractional CMO and managing director of Bubblegum Marketing. Today, I want to address the commonly asked question of which channel should I be advertising on for my paid advertising strategy. And let me start with that, then usually comes with the second question, and that is how much money should I be spending on those ads? So what I've done is I've put together just a very simple diagram that I'm going to go over really quickly that's going to dive in to how to do an omni-channel approach with your paid advertising. Now, I should start off by answering the second question first, and that is how much money should I spend on paid advertising, because it's a question I get all the time on discovery calls, consult calls, whenever anyone starts an advertising campaign, whether me and my team are doing it for them via Bubblegum Marketing, or they're doing it themselves if they're part of my boardroom or part of consulting and I'm showing them how to do it themselves. That's a commonly asked question. So the first answer to the second question is it depends. And it depends on the overall budget, the objective. Is it e-commerce? Is it lead generation? However, that said, I will say you need at least $100 to $150 a day to do any sort of paid advertising. If you don't have $100 to $150 a day, you shouldn't be doing paid advertising because you won't get enough impressions to get enough clicks to get enough sales. So just for example, and these are not accurate numbers, but just as an example, if you get 100,000 impressions on a page, then 100,000 impressions for your ad. So your ad gets seen 100,000 times on a platform. Let's say, for instance, 1,000 people click out of the 100,000, which is probably about right. Okay, so let's say 1,000 people click. And then they land on your website, 1,000 visitors land on your website. And let's say you make 100 sales out of those 1,000, right? That's a 10% conversion rate. And so you need 100,000 people to see the ad to get 1,000 people to click to the website to make 100 sales. So if you don't have the impressions up, although a lot of people think that impressions are vanity metrics, and they are, right? They are important because if you don't have enough impressions, if your impressions aren't high enough, you won't get enough website visitors, and therefore you won't get enough sales or enough leads coming through, depending on what the objectives are for your paid advertising. So whenever you run any sort of campaigns, you need at least $100 a month. So starting point is always $3,000 a month. So sorry, not $100,000 a month. Not $100,000 a month, right? Just depends on your strategy. You need at least $100 a day. That's the minimum, okay? Let me get it right. $100 a day is the minimum across any platform. Now, we have clients spending anywhere between $3,000 a month, right? Because $100 a day equals around $3,000 a month. We have clients spending between $3,000 a month and $100,000 a month and everything in between. So it depends on your current budget. Will determine how many channels you can get across. So in an omni-channel approach, then, if you look at the diagram that I've done here, if you've only got $3,000 a month to spend, which is $100 a day, well, then your best option is to pick two channels. And the best two channels are, the first channel you pick are, where are your buyer personas hanging out the most? Are your buyer personas aged between, say, 35 and 65 with a male skew, right? Well, then you might pick meta advertising, right? Facebook and Instagram, or just Facebook. Are your buyer personas females aged between 25 and 40? Well, then your preferred ad channel would then be Pinterest, especially if it's home decor and designs, right? And decorations, like, and fashion, right? So those sorts of things you would go to Pinterest on, you see. And so it depends on your buyer persona, will determine what your first channel is. Now, having said that, if you pick one of those channels, your second channel should always be open web. So, for example, if your first channel was Pinterest because you're targeting females aged between 25 and 40 or 25 and 45, right? And they're in fashion or home decor or home decorations, home designs, things like that, and you're targeting people on females on Pinterest, that's your first channel, but you should always run a second channel. So if you've only got $3,000 a month, what that would look like is, say, $2,000 on Pinterest or $2,500 on Pinterest a month, and then $500 to $1,000 on open web advertising a month. Open web advertising is also called programmatic advertising. And so what you would do is you would run traffic from Pinterest to your website or e-commerce site, and then you would do retargeting on the open web. Now, if your budget allowed, you would then do a second option, run your Pinterest ads for, say, $2,000, right, or two and a half. Then you would do retargeting for $500 a month, and then do some open web brand awareness for $1,000 a month, right, and just creep that budget up a little bit. By doing that, what's going to happen is that you'll get a whole bunch of traffic from Pinterest, visit your website. Some will buy, some won't, right? The ones that don't, you will then be able to retarget them on the open web on other places on the internet outside of these platforms, right? Outside of what we call the gated advertising platform. And the benefit of that is you'll be targeting people on where they are elsewhere on the internet. Now, you'll be doing that through retargeting, but you should also do that through brand awareness. So go and do a broad approach on programmatic or open web advertising, and do a broad approach and a brand awareness campaign so you're reaching a wider audience than just Pinterest, or a wider audience than just Facebook. Like if we're targeting, say, potential investors that are interested in property, males aged between 35 and 55, 60, that would be Meta, you see. And so it depends on different channels. But again, if that was my buyer persona, if that was my demographic, I would target those guys on Meta. I would do retargeting on the open web, retargeting on Meta, and then I'd do some contextual open web brand awareness advertising to people who are interested in property, luxury, investing, trading, gold, right? Contextual brand awareness advertising, because these people here, our buyer personas over here, are also using the internet in other ways, and we want to get them to the website, because the more people you get from open web to this website or e-commerce site, the more this channel will benefit, right? So same with Pinterest. The more traffic you can send here, the more Pinterest will benefit, because it's also reading your website traffic, right? It's also pulling that data back to that platform. Meta is pulling it back to that platform, and they're building up their own AI and own data sets to get better at their ads, you see. Now, let's say, for instance, you had $10,000 a month, $100,000 a month. This is where it gets really effective and you can scale really fast. A larger budget just allows you to win the game better. And look, it is what it is. If you're running a football team, a soccer team, rugby league in Australia, rugby union, if you've got more money to spend on players, you're going to build a better team. If you're racing Formula One, if you've got a bigger, better budget than your competitor who's also racing, right, a different car company, you'll have a better chance of winning Formula One championships. The same, unfortunately, is true for paid advertising. If you have a bigger, better budget than your competitor, you can outplay them every single time, right? I think it was Dan Kennedy said that, he who buys, he or she, right, who can pay the most for a client can win more often. It was something like that. And what he really meant was whoever can pay the most for a client will eventually win that game, right? Because if someone's paying $100,000 a month for paid advertising compared to a competitor who's only paying $60,000 a month, that $40,000 extra a month is a lot more traffic. Okay. Same down the micro end. If someone's spending like $3,000, but their competitor is effectively spending $5,000 or $6,000, their competitor is going to be seen across multiple channels. So let's have a look at how this plays out in an omni-channel approach where you create a paid ads machine. So this is what it looks like. You have your website or e-commerce site down here. And then over here you have, say, Google search ads, right? And it could be like $2,000 a month. Let's say, for instance, it's like let's say you got $12,000 a month to spend on advertising or something like that, right? Or $5,000 a month. Let's call it $5,000 a month per channel. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And you can break these down for your own numbers, but let's say it's $30,000 a month for paid advertising. Let's say it's $5,000 a month on Google Ads. Google Ads, you're looking for people who are in the buying cycle. They're specifically going to Google and typing in keywords, right? That's where you show up, okay? Over here to the people who are in the buying process. YouTube ads, again, it's search-based. It's looking at people who are already looking for what you've got. Again, two great platforms for targeting people who are very interested in buying very soon. The open web, there are many ways to target on the open web. In fact, there's 2,500 different targeting options, okay? But one of the most popular is contextual advertising. And that's where you're advertising to people who act a certain way and behave a certain way on the internet. And again, you'd use your, say, $5,000 a month on contextual, doing some brand awareness, right? Some consideration and some conversion-based traffic. So you pick all three in the open web. And that's where you go wider with the brand awareness. You start coming in and narrowing your audience a little bit more for consideration, and then getting really specific with the conversion-based events. The same thing with Meta. You go to Meta and you'd run a broader campaign. And with all of these campaigns, what we like to do first when we start off is run a broader campaign so that the AI can do the work for you, find the audience, help you prime your website or prime your e-commerce site. And again, $5,000 a month over on Meta ads. $5,000 on TikTok ads, running sort of videos, different calls to action. And same with Pinterest, using your pins, whatever you want, send it all to your website. So let's say you've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, $30,000 of paid advertising across the different channels going to your website or your e-commerce site. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Every single retargeting should always be on the open web. So you've got traffic coming from Google to your e-commerce site. Some people will buy, some won't. Traffic coming to your normal website, some people will fill out the form, some won't. The ones that don't, you retarget them on the open web. Same with your YouTube ads. People coming in, website gets retargeted. Those that don't buy, to the open web. Same with the Meta ads, same with the TikTok ads, same with the Pinterest ads. All of these channels get retargeting via open web and programmatic advertising channel, right? That's one of the most effective ways that we do advertising. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The information coming from Google ads, YouTube ads, open web, Meta, TikTok, Pinterest, all of these sites or channels, if you like, all of these paid advertising channels put their own pixel on your website or e-commerce site. Now, they do that because it actually helps them collect data. But here's where it gets really exciting. As you're sending Google traffic over here, Meta, the open web, TikTok, and Pinterest benefit from that Google traffic because they are also collecting data about your website. Now, because they see this data, it allows them to find those audiences that you're looking for on Meta more effectively. Same with TikTok. TikTok's also looking at the traffic that's on your website, and it's gathering the traffic from Google, from open web, from Meta, from Pinterest, and it can read that traffic and read the website visitors, and then it uses that to better find your ideal buyer personas and clients and paying customers, purchasers, right, on TikTok. Same with Pinterest. It's reading what TikTok is sending, Meta is sending, open web sending, YouTube ads and Google. Like, it's reading all of the data from the other channels that's coming on your website or e-commerce site, and then it uses that to find your audience more effectively on Pinterest. So whenever you have a machine like this, it helps the individual channels perform better because they all get the benefit from the data that's accumulating on your website from using this omni-channel approach. They all get better at targeting. Your ads get better, your conversion rates get better, your ad costs get more effective, your return on ad spend gets more effective. Everything just gets better. It's like I said with the Formula One racing team. He or she that spends the most wins the race, and that's what happens here. So it just gets more effective. Leads get better, purchases get better, return on ad spend gets better, and cost per lead or cost per acquisition comes down. Now that leads to more sales, right? And then you rinse and repeat that through your CRM, obviously catching people in through email marketing, SMS marketing, capture their details as they make that purchase or fill out that lead form. And then you would retarget them via email and SMS through your CRM, through your marketing automation, and repeat that process. But that's an entirely different video for another day. So what I want to leave you with is this thought. Whenever you want to do paid advertising, do at least 2 channels. Pick one of those channels plus open web for retargeting, and preferably open web for retargeting plus some brand awareness if your budget can stretch. If you've got $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 or $100,000 a month to spend on paid advertising or invest in paid advertising, then you want to be across multiple channels where your buyer personas are hanging out, because what we do know is that your buyer personas who are on Meta also use YouTube, also use Google, will also use other platforms and other websites on the internet. So it's almost a waste of your money just being on one channel by putting all your resources or all of your eggs into one basket. The most dangerous number in business is the number one. One channel, one paid advertising channel, one product, one supplier. Number one is the most dangerous number in business. When it comes to advertising, that's also true. So when you want to create a machine for your paid ads and you want to create a system, this is one of the best ways to do it. This is a very simple diagram, but I've just wanted to get this across to you just to let you know that omni-channel paid advertising will hands down beat single channel paid advertising every single time for the reasons I've already explained. Now, if you need help with your paid advertising and you're looking for an expert agency to come and do it for you, manage your ads, install a system like this into your business or brand, I want you to go over to bubblegummarketing.com. That's my agency. We are experts at paid advertising and automation, and we can help you install this omni-channel marketing paid advertising machine into your business or brand. And if you're at the lower end of that and you don't have a big budget to spend, don't worry, we've also got your back. I've got a boardroom where I can put you in and I can hold your hand, show you how to do it yourself. So we've got solutions from everyone who's on a small budget that needs to do it themselves to companies and brands that are on larger budgets that want experts to do it for them, and everything in between. So go ahead, head over to bubblegummarketing.com and let us know what you need help with the most. I look forward to talking with you really soon.